I've been to funerals before, but never for a baby. So it's just, yeah. I don't actually drink tequila, but she's gonna need it.
Well guys, today's a bad one. Somehow in 2024, people are still finding new lows to stoop to when it comes to what people are willing to try and turn into social media content. The concept of privacy seems to be dead. No, unfortunately, you are not reading the title incorrectly. Today we are taking a look at a TikToker who decided that it would be a good idea to try and vlog the funeral of her friend's baby. Now, some of you may have heard about this already because this situation has been unfolding for quite some time at this point, but this is something I just learned about this week thanks to a YouTuber named Jake Doolittle. If it wasn't for his video popping up in my recommended, I would have never heard about this. So shout out Jake for bringing this to an American audience, because this whole situation is just terrible. Now, from my understanding, this all started about 6 months ago when a TikToker named Tasha Page uploaded a TikTok, which was essentially a vlog of her going to another TikToker's child's funeral named Veruca Salt. And since that video was uploaded, a whole lot more has come out that shows that Tasha was not only inappropriate in vlogging the funeral, she did numerous other things at the funeral or surrounding it that were far, far worse. And those things are what we're going to be taking a look at today. But first, we're going to start with the video that sort of set all of this in motion, the original vlog that Tasha Page uploaded. So let's not waste any more time. Let's begin. Please subscribe.
And now I just got Vericasum John Julio. I don't know how to say this shit. I don't actually drink tequila, but she's gonna need it.
Okay, so apologies for the dog shit audio quality. A lot of these videos have been deleted and re-uploaded over and over again, but we're not even at the funeral yet, and this is already pretty insane. Of all the things I could think of to bring to a grieving mother at the funeral of her baby, hard liquor's gotta be the worst option imaginable. Yeah, let's take an addictive depressant to somebody who's going through what is likely the most difficult thing they've ever experienced in their life. That sounds like a solid idea. And then the nonchalant nature of how she's like, yeah, she's gonna need it. Like, what? This is not somebody who just had a bad week at work or something and wants to forget it. This is somebody who just lost their kid. This is insane.
Yeah, so it's gonna be a pretty heavy day. I've been to funerals before, but never for a baby. So it's just, there's not a lot to say, to be honest.
There's just something really, really off about how this lady is acting. Look, apparently they did not know each other for that long. I'm not saying that you need to be completely torn up over the loss of somebody else's child. I mean, it's pretty hard to mourn somebody that you don't know. But even with that being said, there's still something that just seems off about this behavior. Just sitting there like, yeah, it's probably not gonna be the best day ever, you know, and just sitting there twirling her hair. It's just kind of weird. This does not seem like a person who is headed to the funeral of a baby. Now, the rest of the video is just her footage of the funeral, and even if this is where this story ended, if this is all there was to talk about, I cannot imagine going to a funeral, much less the funeral of a baby of a person you don't even really know apparently, and your first thought is to film a TikTok? To me, that is a sign that not only is there probably something wrong with you, but you also need to get off of social media immediately. You've lost touch with reality. But as I talked about earlier, this is not where this ends. Now, the timeline is a little bit foggy for me. I've been having some trouble nailing down exactly when everything happened because a lot of this has just been talked about in random Reddit posts. A lot of the stuff we're going to be looking at today has been deleted off of social media, so it's kind of hard for me to know when everything happened and what exactly caused what. But from my understanding, a few months after this happened, Tasha Page uploaded a video where she talked about how a friend of hers never thanked her for a baby shower gift. The friend she was referring to in that video being Veruca Salt. Tasha said some nasty shit about Veruca, and I believe this led to Veruca releasing a video of Tasha giving a speech at her baby's funeral where she says some stuff that is genuinely some of the most disgusting shit I've ever heard come out of a human's mouth.
We can speak. We can say something. It's a woman who touched my life. And will continue to do so. I never got the pleasure to make cash because of my own circumstances as broken nose.
Okay, so as you can see on the screen, Tasha was specifically asked not to speak at this funeral. So obviously that is one huge reason as to why you would not do this. But I think another big reason is the first thing she says. She says, I never got the opportunity to meet him. Then why are you making a speech? Especially after you were asked not to. This behavior is unacceptable. Now the next minute or so is basically just drunk rambling. It's not the most offensive thing ever, but it's a speech that should not have been given. It's just her saying nothing over and over and over again. She repeats herself, she contradicts herself. Like at one point she says, I can't imagine what you're going through, I can never put myself in your shoes. And then literally like 10 seconds later she says, I know how hard this must be for you. It's just a bunch of nonsense. Not to mention she's leaning on the fucking hearse the entire time. It's just a pretty gross look into the mind of this lady when she can't even go 10 minutes at the funeral of a baby without trying to make it about her. But after this, it gets significantly worse.
Ash is the most loved little baby that there will ever be by all the baddies of the fucking Gold Coast of Queensland. He is the most fucking baddie attention man that will ever be.
Now, if you couldn't make that out, don't worry, neither could I. It took me about a dozen listens to figure out what was being said, but she's basically calling the baby a chick magnet. Her exact words are a baddie attention man. Keep in mind, this is a 2-month-old child. Apparently, this was referencing the fact that there were a lot of women at the funeral, and instead of saying something to the effect of, look at all these people who cared about this child, she chose to say that he attracts baddies. What a fucking psycho.
On the Gold Coast, make him live with like everlasting pussy and peace.
Yeah, and this is where you would have been escorted out. The fact that everybody stayed so calm when she said this is honestly pretty respectable. So not only has this woman now proven that she is incredibly self-centered, has no respect for anybody around her, but is also sick in the head. To say at the funeral of a 6-week-old child, may him live with forever lasting pussy, you've got to be a sick motherfucker. That is one of the most insane things I've ever heard a person say. To not only try and make somebody's funeral all about you, but to be willing to say stuff like this in general, the people still following or supporting this woman are genuinely lost causes. Now, after this video was uploaded and Tasha started receiving a lot of backlash, she uploaded like a 10-minute long video trying to defend herself. But honestly, after watching through it, I don't think it's worth showing. Not surprisingly, the entire time, all she's doing is blaming everybody but herself for her actions. She blames most of her behavior on one of two things. The first one being that apparently there was too much alcohol at the funeral, which I guess means that she was just forced to drink it. And the second thing being that before the funeral, she had recently gotten an abortion, which look, I can understand how attending a funeral like this would likely bring up a lot of emotions if you just went through that. But in the video, she mentions that she thought that might have been an issue and some of her friends said the same thing. If you were thinking that and you were unsure on whether or not you'd be able to handle yourself at a funeral, you shouldn't have gone. Sure, hindsight is 2020, but I can almost guarantee you that this lady would have much rather you had not shown up than you showing up and doing what you did. Now, the last thing we're going to take a look at is an Instagram post from Veruca. This was posted a few weeks ago, and it's quite a lot, so we're not going to be going through all of it. What we're going to be focusing on are the parts that further detail Tasha's behavior at this funeral. So the first thing that stood out to me is apparently Tasha was talking about getting cream pied at a fucking funeral, while apparently there were children nearby to hear about it, which, I mean, that's insane in any setting, talking freely about something like that with kids nearby. To even think about bringing that up at a funeral, what the fuck? We've got another section that says she walked into his room and started taking pictures, she was touching his clothes. I mean, this is just very strange behavior. This part reads, the entire funeral she would not shut the fuck up about her abortion. She's telling everyone all about it. She's outside with my sister saying, I know how your sister feels, I just had an abortion, which comparing a voluntary abortion to someone's child passing away, that's fucking absurd. She also talks about how all the filming was done secretly, that she had no idea she was going to post basically a vlog of her kid's funeral. It's just such an awful situation, and I don't understand how this person still has any supports. I don't know what it is with people these days and thinking that every single thing they ever do needs to end up on social media. Look, if you're a quote influencer and you document your life through vlogs, vlogs and content, I get it. You're probably going to include most things you do. Over the last decade or so, a lot of things have become more acceptable to post onto the internet. Funerals are not and will not ever be one of those things. Well guys, what do you think? There's really only one correct thing to think in this situation, so hopefully you think this lady's crazy. This is one of those things that you just don't come back from, or at least that's how it should be, but with how the internet is now, there will always be somebody somewhere to forgive you for what you did. Accountability is dead, people. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and walk on over to that subscribe button and touch it. It's free. It won't cost you anything. But for now, that's all I have for you today. Bye.